What if you like someone, but they just want to be friends, but then dates one of your friends? Do you feel betrayed by them and or your friends? No. What? No! I mean, it would suck and it'd be incredibly painful for you. But no, you can't be mad at either of them. You can't. And let me put it this way, okay? If you're friends with a group of people and one of them happens to be like a 77-year-old grandma with one tooth and a body odor problem, and she's there and you don't mind her, but she's just there and you've never really seen her romantically, you've never wanted to sleep with her, nothing, and she goes, hey, I'm in love with you, and you're like, that's cool, I'm very complimented, but I don't feel the same way. At that point, you are not obligated to her in any way romantically. So if there's anyone in the room with you, it doesn't matter who they are, you're not betraying her by being in a relationship with anyone you want. She doesn't dibs you now, and you shouldn't have to be mindful of her in any way. She hasn't dibs you. Nobody can dibs you and be like, no, I was gonna eat that. And it turns out I can't eat that, but that means none of you can eat that. Like, that's not how it works. It's not like pinging a gun in Apex, where it's like, dibs, I want that, and it stays marked, and if you try to pick it up, it's like, well, no, this other person marked it, it's theirs. Like, that's just not how humans work. You can't do that with people. So if they don't have feelings in return, they don't owe you anything. You don't choose who you're attracted to. Not really. That's something that happens to you. So they can't go, I'm just gonna choose not to be attracted to anyone you know now, in case you're sad about it. That's not how it works. And unfortunately, if you're a straight dude and you're going for a woman, a common experience for women is that a lot more people are attracted to them than they are attracted to in return. And a lot of the time, these people know each other, right? So it's very likely that if you go into a room, like there might be like some brothers that fancy you, or 2 friends or 3 friends that fancy you. Like, I've been in that situation, and I don't have to sleep with any of them. And I don't have to not sleep with any of them, depending on who else dibs me. Like, that's not something I have to take into consideration whatsoever, and only an entitled prick would feel that way. And go, no, you have to direct your cooch in directions that are away from me now, because you have to think about my feelings when you think about your sex life, which is totally personal to you and everything, except when I can see you indulging it. Like, be happy for your friend. This is obviously a high-quality person. Because this high quality person, you desire them yourself. You know they're a catch. You can see why your friend likes them. And since this person doesn't like you, they have every right to date who they do actually fancy. What if she fell in love with the love of her life and went, nah, I would have a happy life with you and have kids with you and everything, but I guess Timmy won't ever be born because your friend dibs me. And I'm not going to sleep with him, but I don't want to hurt his feelings. So let's just completely erase all of our future great-grandkids from the timeline just so he doesn't have to cry himself to sleep. Because that's my responsibility. Nobody is responsible for your feelings except you in that situation, and you have to own them. You can't push the responsibility onto anybody else. She or he did not agree to be responsible for your romantic feelings. You push them on them. They don't have to change their actions in any way. I'm sorry. I know I can acknowledge that it's really painful. I can acknowledge that it must suck, but there's nothing that they reasonably should have to do about it. It's not moral to say, no, you can't date each other because I don't want you to. And I wish I could teleport this advice back into my past, because I have been the object of attention of multiple men at once. That has definitely been something that's happened in my life. And what happened was, when I finally did get in a relationship, there were multiple guys that liked me that were hurt, and I just kept my relationship a secret so that I didn't hurt anyone. Because I genuinely thought that me not being able to hold hands with my partner at the time and not being able to be out about it was the right decision, because I just didn't want to hurt my friends who I knew had asked me out, and I'd turn them down, and I was like, I don't want them to look at me with sad eyes and shit. I just want to be able to say hello to them across the hallway and stuff. And like, I wish I could have gone back and went, no, that's not reasonable. Just don't bother with that. Because, like, I never asked them to be attracted to me. It's not my fault. And it's definitely not my fault that I don't want to date them. So in that situation, I shouldn't have tiptoed around their feelings at all. And in the end, I didn't hide it for very long. But, like, I felt obligated to just, like, not tell anyone. And that's so stupid. Yeah, you did it out of consideration for them, but they still took it badly. Yeah, in that situation, there was nothing I could have done that, good or bad, that they would have taken well, if it wasn't me fucking them. If it didn't result in them getting a blowjob, I don't think there was anything I could ever have done to, like, diffuse the situation. It was always going to be a bomb and a car wreck. The minute multiple people asked me out and I said no, like, that was just it. So, wait, someone had a breakdown because you were in a relationship? Wouldn't that imply serious mental problems? I find it that it's actually really common. Like, I don't know, maybe I just only make friends with people with mental problems? I have no idea, but, like, they were like, no, the love of my life. What do I do now that I will never have her? And they were just, like, really exaggeratedly, like, I was like, dude, I barely know you. What are you doing? Even if it's common, maybe, but it's still strange to be fair. Really? Do you think so? Because I think it's like a really average behavior. Like, you develop feelings for someone. I've never had a breakdown publicly because someone wouldn't date me, but like, I've seen plenty of people do it in various contexts. Plenty of times. Yeah, I've never had a breakdown. So for me, like, maybe I'm exaggerating, but like what I mean by breakdown on social media is like saying like, I will never be with the love of my life. How will I ever get over this? I'll never be happy again because someone turned them down. And it's like, well, you just didn't find the right person for you. There are other people, it'll be okay. But they're like, no. And like every single guy who's ever said, I'll never love anyone like I love you. This is over. I'm just going to be single for the rest of my life. And I've actually heard that a few times in my life. Every single one of them has moved on and got a girlfriend. They were full of shit. They were deluding themselves about how important I was to them. I could see it was just lust, but they thought, no, this is the most I've ever felt with anyone. And I'm like, that's depressing because I barely know who the fuck you are. I don't even know your last name. So in those situations, like sometimes someone can like full on just be like, how will I ever find happiness? I guess I should just give up on life. And they're just putting out that constantly on social media. I've seen it a few times and I'm just like, it's okay. Like, it's just some puss. Like, believe it or not, like half the population has one. You'll be okay. There'll be someone else with a vagina that likes you maybe someday. Like, you don't, it's not that serious, bro. Any tips for getting over a breakup? She left me today and I feel so empty. A relationship isn't a failure and you didn't waste your time just because it didn't last forever. Cake doesn't last forever, but you enjoy it knowing that it will end. And I think that all humans are exactly like that. Is that no matter what, everyone you ever know and everyone you ever love will leave you. Either they'll die or you'll leave or they'll leave, but everyone leaves. You don't, you know, even if you stayed with someone for the rest of your life, the best case scenario is that you die before them so you never have to lose them, and then they have to grieve you for the rest of their life or move on and fuck somebody else after they've buried you, and even that's kind of dark. So yeah, unfortunately every relationship ends, and almost everyone who goes through a breakup of someone they seriously love goes through a time of depression and hardship. There are people who feel like they don't want to live anymore when they lose someone, because the way we process breakups is the same way we process pain. So you're probably fucked. You probably feel like shit right now, and that's okay. And it's normal. There's nothing wrong with you for missing someone that you loved. If it would be kind of psychotic to break up with someone and just be like walking away just like, I'm fine. That was fine. Like, I have been deeply in love with people and then broken up with them because I'm not in love with them anymore and they're a piece of shit, and still felt devastated. Still felt that deeply devastated and missed them, and known it wasn't right, and known that it would never work out, and that it's the right thing to do to walk away, and still been really sad that they're gone. Like, only a psycho would spend loads of time with someone and love them, and then just be like, yeah, and be fine after, and just be like, time for a cup of tea and some gaming, and just like get on with their lives. So it's okay that you feel sad. That's normal. Just take care of yourself, dude. Do some stuff that you enjoy doing. If you love games, do some gaming. If you love like eating some chocolate, eat some chocolate, but just don't use any harmful coping mechanisms. A lot of guys don't know how to process their feelings, so they just fap to a fuck ton of porn, go on Tinder and just like try to flirt with as many people as possible, or look for a rebound. And there are a lot of people out there like that who try to just like come away their feelings in various ways, and not a single guy I've ever met who did that was like, yeah, that really helped me. I'm very mentally stable now, completely over you, just fine. In fact, I've had guys admit that they just like went on a porn binge and then on a dating website, and then they've messaged me after the breakup and gone, yeah, admittedly, I thought that doing XYZ would help me get over you, but it's been 2 years and hey, Think we could try again? Like, it's never worked. So if you think that you're gonna find like the answer on Pornhub, I'm sorry. I'd say like choose healthy, stable, like things that, you know, don't have a negative impact on you. And don't escape from your feelings either. Like if you're going to self-soothe, there's a difference between self-soothing and coping. Coping is, what I mean by coping is like when you do a thing like drinking so you don't have to deal with a breakup. Like I'm too drunk, I don't even remember that, you know, I shouldn't call Stacey at 3 a.m. That's not gonna help you. So that's a cope, yeah? Whereas, like, self-soothing is when you're like, I am sad, and it's okay to feel sad, and I'm gonna think about this intermittently, and it's gonna keep popping into my head, and I'm gonna remember this person, I'm gonna cry over this person, but I'm gonna do it while eating ice cream or watching my favorite movie. I'm gonna do nice things that don't distract me from my feelings, but allow me to feel comfy whilst I deal with it and take care of myself, because self-care is facing those feelings and letting them get old. Right? This happens with phobias, and it totally applies to heartbreak. I have a lady, Britain, you've seen her. She helps people get over their phobias in one day. And the way she does it is she gets you in the room with the animal, touching them, spending time with them, loving up on them, even if you're terrified, because you can only be so terrified for so long before you get bored. Like, she was explaining it. She was like, I'll hand you a tarantula, and you'll be fucking like, ah! And then 10 minutes later, you're like, ah! And after 30 minutes, you're just like, okay, this is uncomfy, but fine. And after a while, once you get bored, when you're like, okay, can we do something else now? That's when you're over it, right? So you need to do that with your tears and misery. You need to sit there and face your feeling that you don't want to feel until it stabilizes. At first it's going to be so high pitched it's hard to deal with, and you're like, ah, and then slowly over time heals it. And if you face it, every time you look at it, it looks like scary and hard. You definitely need to do that with heartbreak, because running away from it will just mean it will keep chasing you. It will just be there every time you're sober. It will just be there every time you click away from Pornhub. You know, every time you're cleaning yourself up with a tissue, your memories of your ex will be there waiting for some post-nut clarity to kick in. And so you can't cope, you have to self-soothe. There is a difference, and a lot of people don't know this, but I feel like we just don't teach guys a lot of mental health stuff. So I've met a lot of men who don't know this specifically because we let them down in terms of like therapy and like communication skills and nurturance and stuff. So we don't teach guys to nurture themselves very often. Yeah, a lot of guys end up not knowing the difference between coping and self-soothing. And there you go. There's an essential adult tool that will help you through everything. And to give you some perspective, because a lot of people like wartime examples for some reason, and it really impacts people and motivates people. Shut up, you have an ass. I will say this now. There were loads of people in wartime who lost their partners, who fell in love or got pregnant even, or had kids and loved their kids, and then they went off to war and never came back, and they didn't even get to know how they died. They didn't even get to know how they passed away. They never got any remains. Nothing. Sometimes those soldiers went over there and they just fucked other people or raped them. Or both. Like, you know, some people went over there and they got a new partner and an army base somewhere and never came back and never told them, and they just thought they died. Or maybe they found out and they were like, you just started a family without me? Like, you left me pregnant. You have like a 7-year-old daughter and you're never coming back? Like, there are so many horrific heartbreak stories. A mother of 5 who lost every single one of her sons to the war, who used to have a loud, clamoring house, and she had so many mouths to feed, and she looked forward to every birthday, and everyone in her life in that house is gone, and it's suddenly an empty, quiet house. Like, there are so many stories of heartbreak, and these people pressed on and got on with their lives. There was life after that heartbreak. Every heartbreak you ever experienced, I guarantee you there's someone out there experienced worse and got over it. Doesn't mean you should have to get over it, but what it means is that it's possible to. That, like, this is such a common human experience, and it feels way more devastating than it actually is. It feels like such a huge loss compared to how it actually is. And I keep saying, like, every guy that's ever broken up with me is like, there's no one like you, I'll never love anyone more than I love you. And then they've always had another relationship. And I called it, I knew, because it's normal to feel like that. Like, the world is over now. What's the point in anything now that you lost this person that you love? But you'll love again. And even if you don't have to have relationships to have an awesome fucking life. So it's gonna be okay. It really is. It's a privilege to have people love you. It's a privilege to be in someone's life for a while and to learn and grow alongside someone else. That's so cool. Whether it lasts a year or the rest of your life or anywhere in between, that's an awesome experience. And it's not wasted if it doesn't last forever, and you'll be okay. If it doesn't last, you'll move on. There'll be new things in your life that gap is filled with. And you don't have to rush it. Rebounds don't work. People's genitals are not a springboard for your emotions to bounce back off. Like, don't use somebody else's body to bury your sadness and missing someone into. That's unfair. It's actually quite cruel, and it doesn't work. So don't get in a new relationship just to get over an old relationship, okay? And you'll be okay.